Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw, and I'm here again for the second part of our interview with uh, Alex Sharp, who is the president and CEO of Signature Travel Network. In the first part of this interview, we talked to him about the new Signature Virtual Connections event, which is their version of a virtual conference, but it's still ongoing. It'll be going on through December. And we also talked about his agency membership and the status of his members, and also what he thinks how this crisis will play out and how we're going to emerge from it. In this section of our interview, we're going to talk a little more specifics about Signature training, technology, and marketing programs. You'll find out all about that and more on Insider Travel Report. Now, Alex, first of all, I know when you were speaking in your opening session, you're talking, and also during a press event, a press conference you talked about your memberships, the three pillars of services you offer members, marketing, technology, and training. How has the coronavirus crisis, if you will, and if I have to write that one more time, I'm not going to, it's just been, every story has that. How has it changed these services? And we want to talk look at each one of them in turn. I guess the first one is marketing. How have you changed the tone of your marketing to help your members build better, more consistent relationships with their clients? And how are you ramping up, for example, your virtual selling nights, for instance? How has marketing changed? Because we all had that problem of, do we do hard sell? Do we get people to travel now? Are they ready yet? Some are really, and I guess it depends on the client, right? Some are really ready, and some are like, don't talk to me about that right now. I'm still worried about, sheltering.
Still watching the news and looking for the vaccine information and everything else. So
there you go. But talk about how that marketing, that your marketing has evolved.
Yeah, it's so, all aspects of our business, everyone's business has had to pivot, and ours is certainly no different. Marketing, when you think about it, right, we had to shift to dark, right? And then it was just inspiration. Now we're adding a ton of information, and slowly, right, as advisors position themselves as the experts in all things COVID and the world, right? All these implications that it has, we're starting to get back to some promotional work. But it's, and I would say that promotional work is really kind of targeting second half of 2021. So trying to be sensitive to people and understand that some folks just aren't ready to travel now. There's some people that can't wait to break out, and others that, just aren't ready yet. But when you put it in the context of 2021, so, the team started, right, it was different. We were a company that was producing, 10 magazines and, 80 direct mail pieces and 300 e-marketing campaigns for our members to use in their brands every year, right? And all of a sudden, that spigot turned off. And so we had this amazing team. So, we had to pivot and kind of point them, well, how do we start creating more inspirational, right? They have time to be creative, inspirational videos, social media banners, we'll get back out there, talk about travel, those types of things. And so they created a ton of this stuff, in variety, because you've got so many, thousands of advisors. You don't want everyone having the same thing, and different things would resonate with different advisors. So we did that. And it was about, making sure that customers knew the advisors were there, right? That they were still in business, that they were there to take care of them, that they were going to look after, whether it be their refund or whether it be their future booking, right? So keep that connection. And you mentioned, the virtual selling nights. There's some agencies and some advisors and certainly some partners that focus on this and do it very, very well. They did great, kind of consumer nights over the years, and they pivoted quickly to these virtual selling nights. But what we heard were that we had a number of members who weren't as comfortable with it as others were. Or they said, hey, I don't just want to sell this one product that we sell a lot of. I want to sell all these niche products as well, or maybe a new product. And I only have a dozen customers that I think are good prospects for it. That might not make a consumer night, right? So we decided to take it on from the center and supplement it. So, using Ignacio Maza and some of our preferred suppliers, putting together these virtual consumer nights, some of which have had well over 1,000 consumers online, and it booked well over $1.5 million in sales as a result.
That's great.
So when you look at it, you say, okay, but again, if your consumer night looks the same as it did 6 months ago or a year ago, you're doing it all wrong, right? It has to be about information, right? What does the world, why is it different? How is it going to be different on your product or at your destination, in your hotel, right? And really give people a sense of comfort and understanding that A, you're on top of it, but B, it's complex, but we're going to navigate it for you. And then you can talk about the product itself and why they want to go to a place or a destination or whatever it is, and then the advisor value. And certainly, as I said in our earlier session, the value of a travel advisor has never been higher, but we need to continue to reemphasize that. So that's really, from a marketing perspective, where we're going. Some of the suppliers are flipping the switch a little bit, but I believe brands, they can do brand marketing in this. Certainly a different tone I would recommend, but you can do some brand marketing. As an advisor, I think the customer should and do hold us to higher standards, right? You're supposed to know your customer. So if your customer's in the fetal position, scared, because they're, maybe more likely to get COVID, they're an at-risk segment or something like that, you can't be sending them specials to go, to travel here in the fall. So they expect us to be more thoughtful, and that's why they have an advisor. So a lot of our marketing has shifted to one-to-one marketing, right? We provide the assets and the tools and an easy way to do it, but how do they go to small subsets of their customer base and not this shotgun approach, one promotion to everyone that has an email address? And that's really how it's changed for us.
Well, just the fact that your virtual travel nights or events for your individual members are bringing in that kind of business shows that there definitely is still people who want to travel, that people are eager, some people, and you have to get those people to get on board for maybe not this year, but for next year. Now, one of the things you did mention in your speech, I believe, was you're talking about your signature Travel Expert Select program, and how you've gotten several hundred agents, a couple hundred advisors who are part of this, and they really specialize in certain things. And then you're also working with lead generation partners. And I was surprised to see names like TripAdvisor and some names I couldn't pronounce or even didn't know about, Mocha, Zola, Antony. And what is this program, and how does it work?
Anatomy is a woman's clothing line, so the fact that you don't know that might be okay. But so training in general has really adjusted, I think. Certainly we don't have the meetings and the things that we loved doing in the past and that we would have you at, right? So you could have all these interviews, with us there. So training has changed dramatically overall. Specific to Signature Travel Expert Select, that program, that's been long in the making. We've been working on this for a couple of years and really trying to identify our best of the best based on destination and specialty. And it was one of those things where you had to build it before they will come. And so the timing couldn't be better. So we've built this widget, right? And as you well know, Signature is completely white labeled. It's about our agency brands and their advisors brands. And so we have this white label widget, for lack of a better term, I'm not super technical, that we can put on a partner site. And so in the case of TripAdvisor, right, they were going down a parallel path with their Reco program. And we just had we had a pre-vetted group of 200 plus advisors that have gone through rigorous application process that included interviews and they had to create videos and all this kind of thing. And we built these wonderful profiles. So it's ready-made for someone like TripAdvisor or any of those other partners. And so what they're doing is serving that up on their site through Reco. There's a fee involved, right? So that the consumer has to pay a fee, and which the advisor shares in that, a portion of that. And they get the opportunity for a new customer. But it really puts the power in the consumer's hands. They get to see multiple advisors for a destination or a specialty, select the one they want based on the information there, and then reach out and then get, of course, excellent service. So it's that particular one's not exclusive to Signature, but we have the lion's share of the advisors there because we had this turnkey solution for them. And when you think about it, overall, right? And certainly advisor sentiment around TripAdvisor has varied over the years, right? People felt like they were a competitor, or maybe not always all the best information because it's user-generated content. But think about now in this COVID world, right? People are looking for answers. They're looking for recommendations. They're looking for validation. So they're going to go to TripAdvisor, who gets, tens of millions of unique visitors a month, right? And here's TripAdvisor indirectly saying, well, you need a travel advisor, right? Here it is on our site, right? And oh, by the way, they're worth something. You're going to pay to connect with the travel advisor. So to me, it's wonderful validation for the advisors, for the value of a travel advisor, and it's a great lead gen program. So we're just in the infancy stages, and it's trickling out, in terms of on their site, and they're trying some different things. But look, a company that size with that kind of brain power, coupled with, our experts, I really think, there's some gold here for the industry. And I think there'll be a halo effect in terms of the value of a travel advisor. All these people are seeing that endorsement on their site.
Well, I'm going to have to take a look at the TripAdvisor, how that works. I think TripAdvisors these days sometimes can't quite figure out whether they're a competitor to their online travel agencies or something. In fact, for a while there, they were both that, and now they're referring to more traditional travel advisors. That's great, and I think that's super if you can be on there and get some of that business, because people do go to TripAdvisor for those ratings, and they rate hotels and restaurants and all these different things, which was the original concept. And then they kind of lost their way for a bit. But I think, and then I will tell you, I will probably not be the customer that you will get through Zola or Anatomy. See, I can't even pronounce this thing.
They tell me it's anatomy.
It's anatomy. Okay, that I can pronounce. And for everyone out there is looking at me like you've never heard of that store. I haven't been to a mall in 6 months. So what can I say? Maybe I have. We'll see. Now let's talk a little bit about how you're obviously the virtual conference that you started this week is part of your training, and how has training changed in this sort of new age of Zoom and virtual? Even we talked about the Signature Travel Expert Program used to be, sort of a signature of approval, signature, so to speak, of approval, that you were, a vetted agent who had taken extensive training. But now we all have to do this virtually, and maybe you always could. That's the biggest.
A lot of it you could. We've always been, I think thoughtful. We love in-person training. We love our conference and our regional meetings and that kind of stuff. But we have to make everything really accessible to advisors. So most of our training has been available online as well. But there's some things you just, Ignacio online is great, but Ignacio in person is a tremendous difference. And so, some things we've had to change a bit. But I think what's been interesting from a training perspective is, communication now has to be so much more intentional. I'll selfishly, right, for me, we did events and recognition trips and all those kind of things. So it's very easy for me to get a great, a cup of coffee or a cocktail or a meal, do a tour, do something with every single one of our members, a couple times a year, right? Because we would have these interactions. And now you've got to pick up the phone or send a Zoom link and do that, right? So what we're trying to do is facilitate more exchanges. And I know some people roll their eyes when they think about one more Zoom or one more, but it's such an incredible tool for folks. So, later today I'm hosting, it's the first of a series. I think we're up to like 13 of these things that I'll host. And we're just picking different business topics. Now, these are specific to owner managers, right? Today we're going to talk about all things that have to do with rental space, rent abatement, rent renegotiation of leases, breaking leases, what the legal implications are. And so because we're fortunate, right, we know our members so well, I kind of have go-to people on every one of these topics. So we've selected 3 of them. I'll moderate, try and keep us on time, which I'm really poor at. We'll spend 20, 30 minutes talking about, I'll ask them questions and try and get to some of the nuts and bolts. And then the rest of it will just be an exchange. Now, on Zoom, right, with moderators, you can manage that pretty well. Sure. And do that. And then we'll get notes and we'll get that out to everyone and we'll record the whole thing. So if it's not convenient, and they want to watch it later, they can. But I think, we're having to be more intentional in our communications and our exchanges, which sometimes is tougher. But I do think the result, particularly when I think about the collaboration that can happen on applications like this, it's well worth it. And it's probably one of the things that will stick with us for a long time. How an advisor sells moving forward, I think will probably change because of tools like this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, one of the silver linings of this incredible crisis is we're learning so much about how to communicate differently. And whether it's Zoom or some other product, certainly we couldn't do these interviews without this. And it actually is easier for us than pick up and go physically be in place, even though we do love to go network at your events. And obviously, as all the other ones that we go to, I see you at other events too, like ASTA or ILTM. And we're going to miss those, we think, this year, ASTA certainly. Let's talk a little bit about, because Signature for a long time really has been known for its technology. And you're always introducing new stuff. And so what new technology have you introduced this year, maybe because of the pandemic, or what existing technology has proven to be sort of even more important now because of this crisis?
All right. So one of the things that's been in our pipeline that we introduced, and we had, COVID's given us the opportunity to really dig in more on the training and implementation side, but that's Cruise Pro for us. So our online booking engine, B2B process. And so we think, and we know this is going to be critical. It was a critical need before to have all information in one place. I mean, we used to talk about if you had a new advisor and they sold their first cruise and you said, okay, for this cruise line, you call Betty because she's the one at the res center that knows this. And this one you go on Polar and this one you use this and here's another login and blah, blah, blah. They would throw up and run out of the agency, right? This isn't the business for them. So we started it thinking that way, but now we're thinking, okay, gosh, post-COVID, we're going to have to do more with less, all of our agencies. And so here's a repository that we've really, I think in a signature way, right, pulled everything in together. The nuts and bolts of it are great, but it's all about the content and are all the rates there and what can you do within it. So having that in place, I think will be key. One of the other thing I would mention is that because of COVID, right, we've never had to track future travel credits before. Our members didn't have to. So we had to first train them on how to kind of enter that in their own CRMs and client base, right? So we've done a lot of that, and there's still some inconsistencies. But then we went to all the partners. So now we have a central repository of all the future travel credits, all the future cruise credits, right? And we can break it down by agency, by advisor, what's booked, what's not booked, and we can give them updates and give them access to this information. I mean, heck, you're talking about $450 million or so of future travel credits.
Well, we never had this many future travel credits before. I mean, it's just never existed.
And you do the math on that, right? It's like $70 million in commission or something like that, maybe more. So this is critical stuff. So building this widget, having it available to our members now, I saw just last night, the first regular reporting now on the agency level is going out. Hey, here's your conversion level, right? And now what does that what happens after that is they say, well, is that good? I'm 40% converted. Am I leading? Am I first? Am I last? If I'm last, what am I doing wrong? And so that will create other discussions, best practices, and we'll all get better at this. But, we're on kind of on record with the suppliers saying we will lead in this area, because we will focus on it. And frankly, it hasn't been an easy process, but it's one of the reasons why we really felt like we had to keep much of our team intact right through this. I mean, it would have been very easy to make deeper cuts, from a financial perspective, but in terms of serving our members, we just felt this obligation, and our board, I say we, I work for our board, which is our agency owners, and they felt it was important that yeah, we're fiscally responsible, but that we continue to serve in an even bigger way through this pandemic.
No, absolutely. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, future cruise credits were not, they existed, but it was kind of as an ad hoc basis. And now cruise lines started, and then the tour operators, did that. And in fact, I believe even some airlines, I think I have a bunch of credits with certain airlines that I didn't take. And I'm saying, how do I get those? I have no idea. I feel like if I call them up now and, because I unfortunately did not use a travel advisor, perish the thought on getting them. Do they still exist?
You're on record and in deep trouble right now.
I know. Well, right now, it's going to be very, very. I am on record of I did not use a travel advisor to get. In the old days, I got to tell you, I had stopped using a travel advisor to book air because they were not getting any money for that. So I didn't want to bother them with that. And so often we'll be going down to visit resorts that are hosting us, and so for me, I wasn't a very good customer of travel advisors, but I do have travel advisors that help me out in other ways. And I have to find that one is willing to give me, work with me on air. But we'll see what happens. Because right now, if I want to go back to, say, JetBlue or American, I'm kind of like, I remember that time when I did not go on that flight because of COVID. Oh. No, we have no record of that, right? So it'll be interesting to see. But anyway, no, it's crazy, the whole world right now with that. First of all, Alex, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk about what's going on with Signature in this segment. And I really hope to see you soon. I know we were supposed to get together in September for your owners meeting in Nashville, which would have been a hell of a lot of fun. And now that's been moved to December, and I think you told everybody the other day, because if you cancel that one, you're going to have a lot of owners who are very upset because they really want to meet.
Oh, I think I'll have a group of owners and a group of partners, a group of supplier partners that are desperate to get to a conference, right? Desperate for that personal interaction. And, I have to say it was, it would be great if we can do it. And I just hope that this country we can do our part and get the numbers down and flatten this curve and all the things we need to do to get there. It would say a lot, because if we can be in Nashville, then we're that much closer to actually traveling in earnest, right? And I think the exchange of ideas and probably some tears and maybe some virtual hugs and all that kind of stuff would be healing after
Absolutely.
What's been just a really difficult year.
No, absolutely. And really, as I look, we publish a calendar of events every Monday, although we ended up doing it Tuesday this week. And literally, your event, I believe, is the only domestic event, if you do it in December, will be it. Yeah. There are a couple others on the calendar, like World Travel Mart in London, if we can go there. And, of course, the International Luxury Travel Market in Cannes, where sometimes I see you as well. If that would be wonderful to go, but right now we have to all quarantine for 14 days. So I don't know, maybe we should just rent out a big hotel where we can all self-quarantine
a big villa
before ILTM, maybe on the south, what could be bad or the south of France, why not?
That'd be perfect.
Anyway, listen, Alex, thank you again. Stay safe, stay healthy, and thanks for spending the time with us on Insider Travel Report.